Cheating wife suddenly got STDs and said it was just a kiss, but I investigated and had to kick her out. We've been together for 9 years, married 5 years. We had some tension during the time, which made me realize she has a lot of issues about my behavior, which I feel like was an incentive for her to be with another man. Over the past year and a half we've both been in COVID lockdown. She lost her job and was at home while I continued to work from home. When vaccinations were open to the public, she went back to her hometown to get vaccinated, so she could start to socialize after not being able to see her family for so long. I stayed back because of some immigration issues, since I couldn't cross the border with her, Canada to US. May 28th, everything was going along okay. We'd use FaceTime multiple times a day to chat. Then one day she says that she needs time alone to think about some stuff, so I say sure, I won't bother you. A few days went by and not a word from her, and as her husband I wanted to make sure she's okay, so I called her and all hell broke loose. She was crying and telling me how frustrated she has been with me for years, all the pent-up issues she's had with me, big and small, during our entire relationship. Some of it was valid, some I didn't feel was totally true, but over the next few days the outcome of it was that I needed to talk to a therapist to handle some issues I have. Which I accept. There are things I need to talk to a professional about. We don't have any financial, alcohol, gambling, or obsession issues. Mostly anger management, communication, and certain control issues that I have. It was a little rough that week, but we started talking again. Things were going back to normal. I booked a ticket for her to come back home. Meanwhile, I felt like something was weird about her. She wasn't acting the way I've known her to be. She would always say "I love you" so much and start crying. First week of June, meanwhile, she mentions she's burning, like a yeast infection with some discharge. She got tested and treated for a yeast infection, and I joked with her to get an STD test too, just in case. She did get an STD test, and it was negative, but the original issue wasn't going away. June 23rd, so she comes back home and the following day books an online appointment with a doctor to get tested again, and when she talks to the doctor she goes onto our balcony and closes the door. That was a huge red flag for me because she never, ever goes onto the balcony to talk. She did it a second time to talk to her closest friend, and I thought that's really weird. I knew something was up. Later that night I checked her phone to see if anything odd showed up in her messages or browser history. She deleted her entire browser history while she was in Arizona, another red flag. Then I found a screenshot of text messages she deleted, but were still in a deleted folder, and they were between her and another guy at the time she was changing flights in the Atlanta airport. She was upset with him because he didn't come to the dinner they had planned the night before she left for her hometown. I then went and checked her phone records, looking at the times she texted or called his number. And she had been in contact with him 5 days before she and I had our first serious conversation about marriage issues. I confronted her and learnt that he was a longtime high school crush, and she saw him in the club one night when she went out with her friends. She kissed him in the club and went home with him that night. She saw him 3 more times after that in a public park, and planned to see him for dinner a final time before she came back to me. He didn't show up the final night, and she realized he used her. She said she felt guilty the day after her first hookup and realized she destroyed our marriage. She continued to see him because she felt like it was over between us, was lonely and needed a male to give her attention and confidence. During that time she was seeing him we were still talking, and often after we would talk she'd call him. There's just a lot of emotions right now for me to deal with. She said she went home with him because she had so many frustrations with me, and when she saw an old friend from her past she fell into temptation. I was even more upset that her closest friends let her go home with another man, and over the entire time she was there they didn't tell her that what she was doing was wrong. 3 of her closest friends knew and none of them told her to stop it. She should have known better. I'm just upset with all of them. I asked her, why did you come back to me, and not just stay there? She said she really wanted to come back and work on our marriage, that she wants to be with me, and she realized she wouldn't find another man who loves her as much as I do. I genuinely believe her. I feel like the experience she had with this man devastated her. I've been the only man she's ever been with, so I can understand a human desire to experience something else when you have the chance, but at the same time, a marriage vow has to mean something. Now I feel betrayed and disgusted, but I don't know if it's worth it to go to counseling to work on this and forgive her, or if what she did is unforgivable and ending our marriage is the right option. It's hard to know what to do because there are so many things society, religion, and culture tells us about marriage, but at the same time, life is hard, and being an adult is really hard. Is it human to try and forgive what a loved one did, or do we have strict rules we must adhere to no matter how much a person means to us? We don't have any children, which makes divorce a realistic option. At the same time, I've invested 9 years in a relationship with her, and I feel like I can forgive her for making a terrible decision, yet it's hard to come to terms with how crafty she treated me and think that I deserve to keep her in my life. How am I supposed to know that she's being honest when she says she hates herself and wants to be with me? I've reached out to a therapist for myself and our marriage counselor for us. She'll need to book a therapist to deal with her own issues. We have reached the end of the story. Let's listen to some of the comments by our Reddit listeners. Comment 1. You don't have any children. You have a chance to make a clean break. This sub is filled with stories like you, where they gave their cheating spouses a second chance, and how they regret it. Most of those guys are stuck with kids and they can't get out. So, think long and hard before you decide to reconcile. Also, your wife is blaming you for her infidelity. That's probably worse than cheating. Good luck, OP. Comment 2. OMG. Dude, she came back begging cause after her sexual encounter she found out she had VD, old school term, and played it off as a yeast INF really, and lied about getting an STD screening, then sneak and hide about a yeast INF retest you already know about, whatever she got retested for that STD, and don't want you to know about it. Yet champ, it's time to get tested and run like the wind. Crazy wife screwed next door neighbor while I was sleeping and is devastated I dumped her. True D-Day confession happened Thursday when my wife first tried to admit that she had been going to see the next door neighbor, the just a friend guy, and ended up kissing him once, and she felt so guilty. I didn't believe it. I knew from her actions and all the red flags that this affair started at least a month ago. She puked a couple times and then finally fessed up to having sex only that last time she went to his place. She has been to his apartment for at least 3 evenings. She showed me that they've only texted a few times. T-Mobile shows the truth to be nearly 1,000 times with a couple 2, 3, 4 a.m. sessions that last about an hour. Yeah, sexting. The first time is when she tried to sneak out at 2 a.m. to help him with a sick kid. About half an hour, maybe more, maybe less, but that was my first real oh crap moment. She met him first thing the next morning outside our door to walk dogs with him. The second time was to go visit with friends. She didn't say with whom or where, but I watched her walk into his place when she thought I wasn't looking. I walked to his apartment and all the lights were out. I knew it was real at that moment. I sat with my back against the wall of his bedroom. About an hour and a half later or so, she tried to sneak out his back door to hide her whereabouts. She saw me sitting in the grass and had the deer in the headlights look of panic, guilt and such. She had the nerve to sit next to me, but all I could smell was him and Zex. She denied it and said there were other people there. No, there weren't. I had heavy thoughts of Zuik died that night. Heavy. I even tempted myself with 3 different methods. But thankfully that was temporary. The third and final time I know of is the only time she admitted to sex with him. It was the night after we discussed divorce. I had just thanked her for something, and was being sweet. I was hoping I was wrong and all of this really was just as she said. I knew better, but I loved my wife with all my heart, and she was my best friend for 15 years. I wanted to believe her. Then I did something stupid. The AP was out of the area and she and I started having seemingly unguarded, vulnerable conversations about our relationship problems in the past, her current issues with what she perceives is bad with us, etc. She pushed all the right buttons to convince me she had never ever, even once, had sex with him, but did admit she was attracted to him. I told that if that was true, I wanted at least one good weekend with her, sex and all. But I wouldn't dare if she had already cheated on me with him. She was so convincing. Tears, hugs, vulnerable talk and all. So we did. I even helped her pick out a new vibrator. I'm so damn stupid and naive. She did lie. She did cheat. She had sex with him more than the one time. When you know, you know. So many songs and poems have been written on this very subject. I know I'm not alone in this, but what I know is fresh and cannot be unknown now. Like many of you, I struggle with this every single moment of every single day and night. When I'm awake, I imagine them together, hear what they say about me. The self-deprecating thoughts of how she finds sex far more satisfying with him than it ever was with me. And when I sleep, the nightmares come. Often they are worse than when I'm awake. If I do have a moment of peaceful sleep, I wake up after only a few minutes and I realize that this is still real and all the air escapes me and I cannot breathe. We had just decided in March to really make an effort to be a better husband and wife and parents to our daughter. I worked my butt off to show my best self, opened myself vulnerable to her, and at first, so did she. But she met the fat, ugly dog guy next door and did a swift 180 on me. I was shocked. That was a month ago. She said the standard "he's just a friend" thing. She then told me she wanted me to move out because she wanted to be her own self for a while. I didn't understand because I hadn't done anything wrong that I was aware of. I've been the best husband I could ever be. But it was actually because of the sexual affair. I can't process this. I'm leaving to visit with family in Florida for 3 weeks to remove myself from the equation. Maybe get a better perspective on things. I don't know. I can't even look at her now. I don't know how to deal with loving her so deeply for 15 years, and now feeling severe hatred, anger, and disgust toward her in such a short time frame. It didn't have to end this way. Not like this. I loved you with all my heart. You were my best friend. We have reached the end of the story. Let's listen to some of the comments by our Reddit listeners. Comment 1. Bro, I'm sorry for you. Take the time you need to heal. As many others, I have been through it too. Just remember, this usually happens because there's something wrong with the cheater. Don't let your mind trick you into thinking thoughts like, "What did I do wrong?" That's a road we should never go on. I am angry with you. I want revenge. But I understand that's not how life works. Reset and recover. Good luck to you. OP reply, thank you. Yes, there is a bit of a backstory with her self-esteem and sexual well-being. I know that this is the core of the issue on her end. She truly feels ugly inside and out. This guy took advantage of that and, well, we know where it went after that. As I've mentioned before, we've previously separated and have flirted with divorce before. It's only shocking because the infidelity actually happened, and it wrecked us, changed the story of us, right before we got our crap together. I'm still very angry, yes. It was wrong. Yes. She's probably got a lot more going on, of course. But we'll get through it. I'll get through it. If there's a relationship in the future again for me, hopefully, I'll be better prepared a third time around. Humans suck, don't they? Comment 2. The only thing worse than being married to a cheater for 15 years is being married to a cheater for 15 years plus 1 day. Take care of yourself, OP. Come up with a plan and don't fall for her love bombing again. It only brings heartache, as you've already seen. Start writing down your thoughts. Write out every sordid detail. When you feel yourself wavering, reread your words. We all have the tendency not to remember how awful it was, so writing it out will be what you need to combat that. Good luck. OP reply, I did confront him in a non-threatening way before I knew for sure. Before the confession. I saw him out front with his little boy and said, I know what's going on and it's not okay. He replied, hey, I've been there before, man. It happened to me before. I firmly responded, it's happening to me. Right. Now. I found my wife sitting alone outside about 5 minutes later, lamenting that this probably ruined her friendship with him. She didn't defend me. She worried about her and him. I should have known better. I was still naive enough to think maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked and there was still hope.